see it that. Perfect. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for taking time out of your day to join us. I'm Emily with Minnesota Valley Action Council. So if any of you are new, welcome. This is just a networking meeting. It started out for Blue Earth and Nicollet County, but we do cover our service area. So anyone is welcome. We usually try to cover topics related to kind of employment or other support services that may help participants that we share, or just resources related to supporting our participants and related back to employment and training, essentially. So our guest speaker today is Sophie with Exodus Lending. So she's going to talk to us about her agency and what they can offer. And then we'll go into roundtable where if any other agencies have updates, you're welcome to share. Go ahead, Sophie.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really excited to share a little bit about Exodus and what we do. I'm going to share my screen. Can everybody see the slides?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, sounds good. I'm really excited to be here today. I live here in Mankato, Minnesota. Exodus Lending is a nonprofit that's based in St. Paul, but they hired me in January, as well as my Northern Minnesota organizer counterpart, to share about what we do and the work that we have, and specifically how we work to build a more financially just Minnesota. So we'll kick things right off. Exodus Lending works with financially excluded Minnesotans to advance economic justice through consumer lending, community organizing, and advocacy. And that's a lot of buzzwords that can be hard to keep track of and know what it exactly means. So I'm going to break it down for you today in 3 different steps. First is going to be about education. Second is about tools that we have for you and your community. And then the last is we also do advocacy and community organizing. So we're going to go through these 3 steps: education, tools, and organizing. To start off, this is one of my favorite parts. Emily, no cheating. She did this in a training for MVAC, but we can do it now. If you want to just put it in the chat, we'll start with this first question. What is the current interest rate or APR cap in Minnesota for a small dollar loan, less than $1,200? So if you want to just put in the chat your guess for what the current interest rate cap is in Minnesota for a small dollar loan, you can put in the chat. You can see it. Any numbers are fine. Guess just need some place to start out. 6%, 18%, 30%. Those are all wonderful guesses. 25%, 18%. The closest we had was 30. The current interest rate cap in Minnesota is 50% with a truth in lending agreement. It's a 36% without. Next question. What population is currently protected nationally by a 36% rate cap? Don't Google it. You can put your guess in the chat if you'd like. There is federal legislation to protect a population in the US. Any guesses? I'll just go ahead and answer this one, but I do want your guesses for the next one. The population that's currently protected are active duty military personnel. Under a Military Personnel Act that was passed some few years ago, you cannot lend small dollar loans with a higher than 36% rate cap APR to any active duty military personnel. But after you leave the service, you can go ahead and take out those loans, but not if you're currently serving. What is the average interest rate cap of a predatory loan that we've refinanced at Exodus Lending? This gives you a little bit of a insight into some of the work that we do with refinancing predatory loans, but I just want any guesses here. So if the rate cap is around 50%, we see a lot of varied loans. And I will give you a hint that it is higher than the rate cap of 50%, which we will get into. Any guesses? 66%, 60%. Okay, yeah, you're comfortably above the rate cap. I appreciate it. Honestly, I give this presentation quite a bit, and my favorite part is getting to hear and see people's reactions to this number. Unfortunately, in the Zoom space, it's a little bit less, but I'm just going to imagine that I hear your reactions. The average that percent that we refinance is 267% APR. Yeah, it's crazy. So we're going to get into a little bit about how we get those numbers and what sort of products we are, so that you are better informed when you're working with the community members that you're working with. So predatory loans are small dollar consumer loans that are most often used for things like rent and groceries by low income folks across the United States. But we consider them predatory because they often result in further financial hardship for the borrower. They are often marketed as quick and easy access to cash. And these days, we're seeing them marketed online as fintech or financial technology companies, lenders, or apps. Borrowers are often required to have and link a bank account or some sort of prepaid card. They do not check credit score or collateral or ability to repay. And they're usually small dollar loans. They're usually less than, okay, thank you for everybody in the chat. I did just notice that. Thank you I appreciate you giving me some of that satisfaction. But yes, the reason that these interest rates are so high is because the payday term and the payday loan, it's usually that they're small dollar loans that are taken out and due within a really short period of time. And because of the short period of time, then with the fees and the interest rates tacked on, it results in those really, really high interest rates numbers. So we often will see loans for $500 and then they owe a $75 fee. And then with the interest rate, it yields to them owing $175 back in just 2 weeks. Well, if you don't have the $500 this Monday, you're not going to have it in 2 Mondays. And the lenders know that and are relying on that so that you have to reborrow or take out a different sort of small dollar loan that they offer. And also then it has this sort of cycle of use that folks get trapped in. The way these look across the US, the note here with the X in payday loan, we'll talk about that later, but those are storefront lenders, short-term high-cost loans. This rent-a-bank lending is one that we see a lot of, or online installment loans. They route their high interest rates through out-of-state banks so that they're able to lend. Here's an example of a lender. We see tribal lending, so loans that can evade Minnesota interest rates because they are offered through tribal sovereignty. Pawn loans, like places like Pawn America, auto title loans, which are illegal in Minnesota, but folks are able to go across the river and get them in Wisconsin. And then we're seeing a lot of these early wage access apps. These are new to the field, and we're learning a lot about them. But I get ads for them. Like I was listening to a podcast recently, and it was Earnin is one of the places that we've seen. But they say, oh, you can get $500 or your whole paycheck up to a week early. And then they have this like tipping model or subscription fee model, which still, when we do out the calculations, still yields in triple digits interest rate amounts. But they advertise as being interest free and super helpful, which is really a little shady in my opinion. So these are some of the predatory loans that we see in the landscape. The reason I want to tell you about them is because people don't like to talk about this sort of stuff. People like to blame the user for their experience with predatory loans. And we want to sort of get rid of some of that shame and stigma. These are tools that people think that are going to help them through the next financial hardship that they're having. As we know, most Americans do not have emergency savings and things like that. I like to think of these as like, they are a Band-Aid. They might cover up the wound you have, the scratch you have, but they are going to infect that wound and cause more problems later, especially dinging credit scores, often resulting in higher overdraft fees and experiencing more overdraft fees. But there's some really shady sorts of businesses and loans out there that specifically target the underbanked or the folks who might have reason to be suspicious of traditional banking or credit opportunities. So maybe they're an immigrant, so they don't have a credit score. Maybe they are from a historically marginalized community who has long had distrust in their communities of banks because of things like redlining and unable to get loans through certain places. It is really shocking to see when you go to the websites of these lenders how often they're using photos of African Americans and how much they're targeting those specific communities. Some terms to look for when you're trying to see if you're working with someone who's experiencing predatory debt is when they say they have a really high interest or high cost debt that they just can't catch up with. We also see them stacking a lot, so they're maybe using 3 of the earned wage access apps to be able to make ends meet and bills paid, and they get caught up and they have to keep borrowing them out. So those are all things to know. At Exodus Lending, we are experts in some of these. We have some of the best data in the state about these lenders. How come, you ask? Because we're interested in stopping the predatory debt trap, and in all sorts of forms. And we're going to talk about that in the next piece with our tools and organizing pieces. If you have any questions, by the way, feel free to put them in the chat. But the bread and butter program of Exodus Lending is our refinancing loan. So we pay off or buy out predatory loan debt of up to $1,500. We then have folks pay us back the remaining cost of their loan with no interest and no fees, no strings attached when we work on those loan term agreements for over the period of sort of a year to 2 years. So this means someone who might be having to pay $200 in fees or interest rate every 2 weeks is now moving to what more looks like a $50 payment every month and are able to pay down those predatory loans without having to reborrow and without accruing that really high interest debt. We've had over close to 400 program graduates. Honestly, I wonder if this number is old and we have had 400 program graduates now, with around $2 million saved from $600,000 refinanced. I think that this really goes to show you how much money we're saving folks from this type of financing because of how predatory they are. That this is how much dollars and fees and interest are saved when we're able to buy out that predatory debt. So like I said, you might come across people who are experiencing this predatory debt. This service is available now and today. If you go to exoduslending.org, the first button you'll see is refer someone or see if you qualify. And then these are the 5 criteria that you have to have. It's 6 now, I think, to be able to see if you qualify for our refinancing loan. You need to live in Minnesota, have payday or other predatory debt, and that means we're sort of looking in that 36% income. The earned wage access stuff can get tricky. They're not necessarily posting an interest rate like they were with payday loans. So if they're still experiencing earned wage access debt, send them anyways. We have ways to calculate that percentage rate. The payoff is under $1,500. A common question though is if they have like 3 loans that add up to under $1,500, we can consolidate that debt. They've had the loan for more than 30 days. They're not actively filing bankruptcy, and they have some form of steady income. This includes any benefits that they're receiving. It does not have to be earned income. It could be unemployment, disability, MFIP, anything like that. So they would fill out these questions, and then Troy, our wonderful enrollment coordinator, would reach out to them. Our times are a little bit slower than they usually are because we had a lending coordinator leave the position, but there's still around 3 to 4 days for someone to be able to reach out. We then work with the lender, pay out the lender, and then set up repayment through Exodus Lending. This is a great program. I hope that you'll remember it and see if you're working with folks who might be impacted by this. It can be a lifeline for folks. A question in the chat: if they owed $1,500, then you wouldn't assist since it has to pay off their loan. If they owed more than $1,500 and they're able to pay, yes. If they owe more, that's what I assumed you were saying. If they owe more than $1,500, we would encourage them to pay down the loan to $1,500, and then we would be able to pay out that loan. So we've had that experience happen. And I will tell you, between you and I, with inflation and everything, we are considering and close to bumping up that number to $2,000, just because we know that the landscape of the loans has changed a bit since we started the program. Thanks, Emily. Okay, here's an example of a loan that we've refinanced. So you can sort of see this is an online installment loan lender that we refinance, often called OppLoan. So their APR was close to 160%. They received, the amount of money they received was $2,000 with the finance charge and how much the credit will be. This is how much like fees and interest they're paying. So these numbers added together are $3,482. At Exodus Lending, no APR, no fees. We would buy out their loan for $1,500. They would pay us back for $1,500. So I know you're seeing this sort of loan and thinking, gosh, why would somebody take that out? It seems like a bad idea. But when you need $2,000 fast for a car repair to get to your job or to drive your kids to school, it might be the only option you have, which is why Exodus Lending was in the business of creating a similar product that could compete with them. especially as we were trying to tackle some of these issues at the legislature. And that's where the resiliency loan came up with. So the resiliency loan is our second product. It's an alternative to payday and other high cost loans. We offer a no interest personal loan of up to $1,200 for emergency and urgent financial needs. Right now, it's for Minnesota residents. A key point here, though, it is only available to folks who have been referred to by a participating community partner and have the ability to repay the loan. I also like to say, or they have a need that is best met by a loan. So right now it only works where we're working through the referrals through community partners who help us and send an application. Part of the reason we want this community partnership model is because we want them to help us identify folks who have a need that is better met by a loan, and not folks that could just be able to cover the expense that they're trying to find by something else, like energy assistance or like county benefits or things like that. So we're hoping that referral agencies are able to send folks around to the appropriate places before they might need to take on any debt, especially when they might not be able to repay. Something key about all of our loan products is that we do report to credit bureaus. Because we're probably the best credit you're ever going to get with a 0% interest, we're hoping that with successful repayment, we'll see positive influences on credit scores. So that's something key. I'm going to keep moving on because I know that we're going to have some time to do the roundtable stuff. So if you have questions, though, I'm here to chat. My hope is that maybe your agency is interested in joining our list of growing partners across the state. Like I said, I'm located here in Minnesota, so I work with the partners that we have so far: Jeremiah Program in Rochester, LifeWork Planning Center here in Mankato, Wellshare International, Three Rivers Community Action Agency, and MVAC coming soon. They just signed their memorandum of understanding, and we're doing a training this month to have them join on to be able to offer the resiliency loan. Here's
I
me
think there is
having
a question in the chat.
awesome. If someone wants to keep their credit card, but their debt is $1,000 and the interest being 40%, can you help pay off the balance and not have a total? That is a really great question. I don't believe that we've had instances of seeing credit cards with interest rates that high. This seems really shocking to me. But 36% is the amount that we're interested in refinancing. So if they fill out the paperwork and that is true, but that's how much their APR is, that's absolutely something that we would be able to buy out. Similarly, the resiliency loan can also be used to pay down high cost credit card debt if that's something that folks are interested in doing. I have not seen or heard about anybody being refinancing a credit card with interest that high. We usually don't, usually I get asked about credit cards quite a lot when I do these presentations, or medical debt. But because we're in the predatory interest rate, that's the field we sort of operate in, it has to be a 36% APR or higher. My coworker Troy will be able to answer that question more seriously when you refer this person on our website. Feel free to ask. So I've been saying a lot about payday lending is still the term that we use, but excitingly, Exodus Lending and their advocacy coalition, Minnesotans for Fair Lending, were instrumental in leading the campaign that capped interest rates on small dollar consumer loans at 36% APR in the 2023 legislative session. Basically, we use the data from all of the loans that we refinance and the folks' stories to be able to lead an advocacy campaign that capped this interest rate. So there was a payday lender in Mankato. It was located in the Pawn America. It was called Payday America. After this loan passed, it had to close up shop because they couldn't operate their business model, not offering predatory interest rates. So that was really, really huge. It's a really cool part. It's one of my favorite parts of my job is that we do both the downstream and upstream work. We're taking on more issues because, as you can see, we're still refinancing things that rent to bank or online installment op loan that we're talking about, and those earned wage access app products. We're taking a crack at those and gathering stories, gathering data, working with the state to see if there's ways that we can regulate the industry to help folks make sure they're not taking advantage of in a moment of vulnerability. Okay, I sped through that, but here are some of the closing things to remember. Also, I will send this presentation to Emily so that she can send it out to you as a resource so that you are able to refer back to it. I hope that maybe this presentation will spark a conversation between your friends or families or coworkers. Tell them about predatory loans and hear if you have anybody's has experiences with them and what they think. Please refer folks to Exodus Lending when you hear they might be caught in a predatory debt trap. Send them our way. And you can sign up for our advocacy action alerts if you're interested in building more consumer power in southern Minnesota. It's on our website. You just scroll all the way to the bottom to the sign up link. Are there other groups or folks who need to hear about this? Do you know folks who would be a good resiliency loan partner and join our list of growing orgs? Just let me know. Here's my contact information. It will be included in the email that we send out. And you can also scan that QR code with your phone right now if you're interested in pulling it up on your phone. How did I do, Emily?
You did fabulous.
Awesome.
Yes. And I do type up a summary of everything that's kind of talked about here, and events and programs. So I will be sure to include that information. But yes, Sophie did a great job presenting to our community services group, and we asked her to come back so that you guys could also hear the awesome programs that they have and what services they can offer so that we can continue to build a network. So does anyone have any questions for Sophie? And if not, I will make sure her contact information is shared so that you can always follow up with her after the fact. Um, yeah.
Thanks, Emily. Do you mind if I hang on and listen to them? Okay.
Yep, you are welcome. I was just going to say you're welcome to stay on the call. You're welcome to join in the upcoming quarters too if you want to just be added to our network here. I send it out to whoever and anyone's welcome to join. So what we do next is just kind of move into roundtable where we just chat about different programs that might be coming up or events, those sorts of things. Sometimes this meeting wraps up early and sometimes it takes takes us to 2. So does anyone want to get started? Otherwise, I can share some updates if nobody's brave enough. Okay, so I just wanted to share energy assistance did end May 31st. But if anyone had applied previously, I believe they still had some crisis funding left. Emily Holicki, you might be able to speak to that a little bit better, but basically if they already applied, they can reach out to see if there's assistance. But that did close for new applicants. Head Start is out for the summer, but they are accepting applications for the next school year. Community Action celebrated 60 years this year. MVAC had their 60-year jubilee. I believe that was successful in all 9 of our counties. So just spreading the word about community action and continuing our mission of providing opportunities to people in communities. So we did celebrate that. I do still have openings for our low income short term training grant. They just have to be under 200% of poverty. And there's a couple schools we work with for either healthcare or manufacturing. So if you have anyone still interested, that does go through June of next year. And we do have openings for that yet as well. They can reach out to me with questions. I did see a scam text from the DMV going around. It's not actually from the DMV, but just in case somebody mentions it, spreading the word to, just proceed with caution, not clicking any links. And official agencies like that typically will not text someone. So just making sure we're spreading the words about those scam texts, either talking about things like unpaid tolls, unpaid fines, those sorts of things from state contacts, which is not correct. So wanted to share that. And then just a brief update that our next networking meeting will be Wednesday, September 10th at 1 p.m. And I still need a guest speaker for that. So if you come across any other agencies that you would like to know more about, feel free to send their name to me and I can certainly see if we can get them as a guest speaker. But that's all I have. Does anybody else have agency updates? Let's see here. Okay, Blue Earth County Employment Services says business as usual, no updates. So thanks for that update. Sometimes no updates are good updates. So perfect. Awesome. Well, it might be a quiet group today. Any questions or thoughts?
I wanted to share just a little bit about Senior Linkage Line that I work with. For those that aren't aware, Senior Linkage Line is a service that the state of Minnesota offers statewide. It's a free, non-biased service, and its purpose is to support older adults, mostly age 60 and older, and their caregivers with information and assistance. So helping to connect them with what services and supports and options are in their areas across the state. We do have a phone number that I can pop in the chat in a second here, open Monday through Friday, normal hours, 8 to 4:30. So people are welcome to call in anytime. But I wanted to mention also that we do have an online referral site as well that I just put in the chat. So if anyone knows of an older adult or their caregiver that could use some additional support or assistance, you can use that website I just put in there and select the Help for Older Adults option to submit a referral. And anyone is welcome to put in a referral. The referral site, the form itself has actually been simplified quite a bit in the last couple of years. So it only takes about 5 or 10 minutes to complete. And then once we receive that referral, it will get triaged to whoever is most appropriate to offer that assistance. And then they should hear from somebody in about 3 to 5 business days, usually. So please feel free to let us know if there's anyone that you guys are seeing that could benefit from that help. And then the other thing I wanted to mention that's kind of an update is that this summer they are actually rebranding. So Senior Linkage Line, if you're already familiar with it, will be getting a new name. We don't know what that name will be yet, but just keep your ears open for that. And we'll see what happens. It'll be a big project to kind of let people know what that new name will be. But yeah, those are some updates and things I wanted to share for us.
Thanks for sharing that. That is good information to know. I'll try to keep watch for that so that I can share that as well. Or if you come across it, you can certainly email me and I can send that out to the group. So yeah, that's
Sounds
perfect.
good.
And I can also include that referral form in the follow-up email I sent. So
Thanks, Emily.
any other agencies have any changes or updates or questions? I know we're a smaller group than past meetings, so that definitely comes into play, I'm sure. So.
Emily, I just dropped in a link for Career Force for like the dislocated worker sessions for anybody who is looking for employment support. They're scheduled through the end of August right now, and I might be adding more sessions. So anybody can sign up for those via the link in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That was about what I was about to mention that. So thank you for
Sure.
doing that. Perfect. Yes. And to find upcoming info sessions, you can also Google Career Force and have individuals look at their nearest Career Force location in case they're not in our service area. They might also have some resources as well. So perfect.
So the senior program currently doesn't have a wait list. We are taking people on as we can. The only real delay now has been finding work sites for seniors. We don't have a lot of work sites right now, and it's hard to match them with a work site that fits their skills or their interests when we don't have a lot for them to choose from. So if you have any seniors that are interested in the program or looking for employment help, send them our way. We do have a interest and referral form on our website. And then for work sites, feel free to contact me if you're interested in being a work site or if you know of any work site needing some volunteers through the program. You could also give them my contact info or have them reach out to MVAC. I will drop my information in the chat.
Thanks, Kim. And to preface that, Kim does our young adult and senior employment programs. So she's referring to our senior employment program for 55 or older that we pay wages and workers' comp and place them at a community business. So if you know of any businesses that are struggling for help, we can maybe help step in and provide wages and workers' comp to an individual who then could fill a need at an agency. So just to kind of explain that a little bit further. So thank you. Awesome. Any final updates or changes or any programs that are looking for participants? And if not, I will be sure to type everything up. I did see an email actually, just came to mind. I believe the multi-county HRA posted that their wait list is maybe closing for Section 8. So I can dig in my emails and see if I can find that. But I know there's usually a representative on the call for that, but I'll just share that update. I believe that I had seen an email on that as well. So perfect. Yes, it did close. Okay, thank you, Emily. And as far as I know, there was not an estimated date for that to reopen. So just keeping that in mind if people are calling asking for resources. So awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much to everyone who joined. I know everyone's busy wrapping up their end of program years for anyone that has grants ending June 30th like ours. So I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to join us. I will be sure to upload this recording so that you can reference back the slides. And then I'll also send out the information that Sophie shared with us as well with her contact information in case anyone wants to reach out to her to present to their own agencies. So any final thoughts? Otherwise, I'll let you guys get back an extra 30 minutes here. So today's was quick. Perfect. Have a great rest of your day. And then the next networking meeting will be Wednesday, September 10th at 1 p.m. So I will send out a new link for that. And as always, if you have guest speaker ideas or you have new coworkers that would like to be on the list, I just send them my way and I can get them added to my email listing. And Sophie, I see you want to be added, so I will make sure that you are on my standing invite list. So thank you so much for your time today. I greatly appreciate it.